Hello everyone, I'm Batman, about who plays scary games. This is part 2 on how to create an SMS system like First to Fathom in Unity. In part 1 we created the UI basic of it, the bubble messages, the window and anything related to the UI. In this part we're gonna cover anything related to the scripts, like writing messages, writing our own messages and adding them to the content, adding multiple message boxes and dragging and moving them around. This video will be put inside a series of videos covering Unity tips and tricks. It will also be in another playlist of videos covering functions from the game First to Fathom in Unity. I published my retro horror game called Fractured Psyche. It's a psychological horror game. If you're into psychological stuff, you can actually check it out with a link in the description. It's available on both Android and Windows. All the files used and created in this video are available on my GitHub. You can actually find it with a link in the description as well. With all that being said, let's put on the mask and begin. Okay, now we're in part 2. As I said in the intro, in this part we're gonna cover anything script related, and we're gonna make the panel move around. We're gonna add a function, so when we call it, a message is gonna be added here. It's either gonna be us writing or the contact writing, and that is everything we're gonna cover in this video. And I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call it scripts. Inside this folder I'm gonna create a new C# script. I'm gonna call it First to Fathom _ SMS. Double click to open it up. I'm gonna do a new thing in this script and I'm gonna explain it to you guys as far as I know. That is called making this one a singleton and a static. And making it a static will give us the ability to actually call this script from anywhere in our game and not reference it. You know, because by default, if you want to reference something from this script, you're gonna go inside that script. And for example, you're just gonna say public, for example, First to Fathom SMS, and you're gonna call it SM, for example. And down here, if you wanna reference it, you just say sm.something. But when we make it a static, we don't have that. First, I'm gonna make this script a static. You guys don't have to make it a static, because making lots of scripts static will make your game slower if you have lots of functions happening inside the void update, for example, or heavy stuff in your script. Making it a static will actually decrease the performance on your device. And the reason for it is because statics, I think, won't destroy until your game is closed. So what we're gonna do in the script is I'm gonna make it a static. To make a script a static, you're gonna do this. Public static, and you're gonna exactly write the script's name, so First to Fathom SMS, and you're gonna give it a name. I'll name it instance. Now we have a static script. How do we make it a singleton? So only one instance of this object is available in the scene. First we have to make a void awake. So awake is kind of like start, but the key difference is it activates instantly when the object is added to the scene. Unlike start, which actually waits until the object is active, void awake won't wait until the object is active. Even if the object is disabled, it will actually run. We're gonna make sure there's only one object of this First to Fathom SMS type in our whole scene. So what we're gonna do is, if instance is equal to null. So if we don't have any instance in our scene, we're just gonna say instance equal to this. We take this script as our instance if we have no instance in our scene. Then we're just gonna say else. Else means if we have an instance in our scene. If you have an instance other than this one, we just destroy this object and keep that instance, because we don't want to have two instances at the same time. So destroy game object with the small g, which actually means this object with the script that we're working on. These two lines will actually allow us to have only one object with the First to Fathom SMS on them. And that's how we make an instance that we can call from anywhere in our scene without needing to reference them in the scripts. So we don't need void update, so we can destroy it, we can delete it. I need to make public void. I'm gonna name it add message, and it's gonna take two values. One is gonna be a boolean to say sender _ player to check if the sender is player. Then we need a string called message, for example. When we call this void, we're gonna tell it if the player is running it or the contact. Then we just give it the message we want. Let's go up here and create the variables we need for this. First, we need a public transform. I'm gonna call it content _ parent. And you might ask what this is. This is actually, if you watch part 1, you know inside that we actually had something called content. I'm gonna remove all of it. This is the content. If you didn't watch part 1, I highly recommend you watch part 1 because this is only the scripts and the actual SMS system, SMS UI is in part 1. If you want to watch it, you can click on top of your screen right now or get to the link in the description. So we have a content. What we want to do is when we try to add a message, it is like, dragging this prefab that we have here and onto this content. So it is added because if we add it here, it doesn't show. If we add it to viewport, it gets all weird. It has to be exactly instantiated and added to the content. So I get a reference to this object's transform, which you'll see what we're gonna do with it in the following minutes. Then we need a public game object. It is our player instantiate. I'm gonna call it SMS instantiate. Then we need another game object, contact SMS underline instantiate. So you might ask what these are. These are the two prefabs that we're gonna instantiate and add to this content parent. These two prefabs that we made in the previous video, which are actually the message sent from the player and the contact. So we need reference to these two. So I got a reference in here. Then we have a parent, the content parent, that we can make the child parented to that object. With that done, we go down here inside add message. So the thing we're gonna do is first we're gonna check if we send the message, the player send the message or the contact. How do we do that? We check the boolean that we asked for up here. So we say if sender player, writing this actually means sender player equal to true. You can write it like this or like this. For this tutorial, I'm gonna write it like this. If the player send the message, we do this, else, which actually means else if send player is equal to false. Again, I say it, send player equal to false. We do something else. So if the player send it, we say add player message, and if the contact send it, say add contact message. As easy as that. So now we're gonna go ahead and create the function of the player adding message. When we want to add a message for the player, as I told you, what do we want to do? We want to get this prefab and add it to this content. So it is added here. So instead of dragging and dropping it, I'm gonna copy this, duplicate this. For example, instantiating means make a copy out of this prefab and add it to a scene. Again, I say when you want to instantiate an object, it means you want to make a copy out of a prefab you already have and you just paste it inside your scene. And I want to say copy it. For example, it is not copying. I'm just saying it is, kind of similar to copying and pasting. So you copy it and paste it. And when I paste it, I want it to paste on the content and be a child of the content. So it gets placed correctly. How do we do that? There's a command inside here we can use. We're gonna say instantiate. Instantiate means make a copy out of, just like we said. Again, I say it doesn't mean copy, but it is like copying. We're gonna just kind of say make a copy out of our prefab. What do we want to instantiate? So it needs 3 values inside here. The first thing is the object. We have to give it the object it wants to copy. So if the player is gonna send a message, we're just gonna say player SMS instant, comma, space. Then we need to give it a position. So where do we want to place this, copy? As I said, we want to make it a child of this content. So we say content parent dot transform dot position. So what it does is it's gonna take this player SMS, it's gonna copy it and paste it exactly on the transform of the content parent that we get a reference of here. And it also needs a rotation. We don't want it to have any rotation. We say quaternion dot identity, which means just give the rotation 0, 0, 0. So we don't want any rotation on it. So that's how you make a copy out of a prefab and add it to your scene. But now I have it, I want to change some values inside this copy I made, and I don't have any reference to this copy that I made. I only have the reference to my prefab, and I don't want to change the prefab. So we can do something clever inside here and something logical. So we know the object we created is of type game object. So we say game object. We're gonna give it a name. For example, I'm gonna name it GO equal to. As easy as that. We now have a reference to our copied object. We're gonna take the instantiated prefab the copied prefab, not the actual one. For example, I put this object, for example, this image inside the printer, another image comes out, for example. Now I want a reference to that second image that came out, and I want to change that one, not the one that I put in the printer at first. I hope I explained it okay, because instantiate is a pretty important part of Unity, and understanding it perfectly is actually so helpful in your journey. And I first didn't know about it, and that is the reason I'm actually trying to explain it complete and as simple as possible. So now we have a reference to the object that we just copied. So we say we add a container and we put the copied object inside that container, and that container is called GO. Now that we have a reference to it, to the copy that we just created, we can just do whatever we want with it. Now we want to make the object that we created a child of the content that we have, this one, the content that we have up here. So how do we do that? There's a command inside Unity. We need a reference to the container, the new copied. So go dot, we go to its transform, then we have a function called set parent, and we find a parent for it. And for the parent, we want it to have this content parent, and there's also a value inside it called, as you see, it takes two values. The first one is actually the parent. It looks for an object in the scene and makes that one a parent of the object that we have, which is the copied version of the message. And we make the copied version a child of that content that I just showed you. And this false here, as you see, shows that the world position stays. We don't want that, because we want it to be exactly the same spot as the content. And if it is not on there, it's gonna look weird all over the place. So we make this one false. So it actually allows the copied message to be exactly as the same spot that we want. It's like just dragging and dropping it onto the content. So as you see right now, I have this copy and paste and drag and drop function figured out, but I don't have anything related to changing the text to the message we want. So right now we're gonna check this section out, then we're gonna come back and write a message as well. Let me just call this function once so you guys can actually see. So I'm just gonna say add message player SMS, and for the message we can just, for example, say yes, but it's not gonna write anything because we didn't create a function for it. And we can go ahead and check this out. So we have this script. We're gonna give an object this script to an object. So I'm just gonna create an empty object. I'm gonna call it SMS. I'm gonna give this script to it. It needs a content parent. So this is the content. I'm gonna drag and drop it here. We can click on the circle and search for content and find it. As you seen in the previous video, we made two prefabs. So message left is the player, so message left, and message right is the contact. Now we have that. Once I start the game, it's gonna make an instance of it on the object. As you see, a message is added. If I just duplicate it 4 times in the void start, it's gonna add 4 messages. As you see, 4 messages has been added. You can move it around and stuff. So now we created an instance of it. How do we change the text? So to be able to change the text, we're gonna go inside this prefab. As you see, we are inside the prefab. You're gonna get a reference to this TextMesh Pro inside it. So there are lots of ways to get a child of this and get this TextMesh Pro, and 2 major ones is searching the whole prefab to find the TextMesh Pro object inside it and get it. And also there's one simpler thing that we can do, and that is making a script and making that script hold a reference to the TextMesh Pro, that we can just access that script and get the TextMesh Pro out of that, which is actually very easy to do. So we're gonna go to this script. I'm gonna call it First to Fathom SMS TM Pro reference. Double click to open it up. We don't need anything inside it. We're just gonna add using TM Pro up here because we want to get a reference to TextMesh Pro. Then we're just gonna say public TextMesh Pro UGUI. I'm gonna call it text underline reference, and that is everything we're gonna need. We can go out. So what we want to do is we're gonna go inside our prefabs, the prefabs that we created. We're gonna double click on it to open it. Go inside the message left, the parent, the direct transform. Then we're gonna add a component, and that component is First to Fathom underline SMS TM Pro reference. We're gonna add our script inside here. You can just add component and search it, or just find it here and select it, just drag and drop it. Now that the object has it, it needs a reference to TextMesh Pro. When you open the prefab, you see this blue thing up here. You can just drag and drop your text here, or you can just click on the circle to find your text. Since it has only one text, you can drag and drop it here. Just Control S to save it and go out of the prefab. Now when you go inside the prefab, you see it has a script inside it, and that script has a reference to the text that we need to change. Now that we did it for the first one, let's go ahead and open the contact message. Right now it doesn't have it. I just add it again and just get a reference to the text it has. Control S to save it and just go out again. So now the instances we make from this time out also has this script that we can take a reference out of. Now that we did that, we're gonna go again inside our script. Sorry if my voice is a little bit bad because I have a sore throat. So we're gonna take a reference to the script that we just got, that we created on the prefabs. So GO is actually a copy of that prefab that we made. GO. We're gonna first say, we know the text we're gonna take is of type, for example, First to Fathom, SMS, TM Pro reference. We're gonna take this one, we're gonna need a name for it. I'm gonna call it TT underline reference, which is equal to GO, the copy we made, get component, and First to Fathom, SMS, reference. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna create a container. I'm gonna call it tref, and it's gonna take this copy that we made and it's gonna go inside it and search for a component called First to Fathom SMS TM Pro reference. And if it has that, it actually puts it inside this T reference. So now we have a reference to the script that we just created, and now we just need to get the text mesh pro that was referenced inside that script. This is script. So to take that, we know the object we're gonna take is of type text mesh pro. So we're gonna go up here and add using TM Pro, because we're gonna reference the text mesh pro in here. We're gonna say text mesh pro UGUI. I'm gonna call it TXT, which is equal to T underline reference, the script that we got, dot, you see a text reference, this thing that we made public here, it has to be public, pops up. So tx.text reference. So right now we actually have the text that we want to change in our hand, and we can just change it. So how do we change it? We go inside here, we say text.text equal to message. So the text reference that we got, we're gonna get is text. So the text from the text mesh pro, we go to its text, container, so we can change the text, and we just give it the message that we got once we called the void. And these are the things you have to do. So let me explain it again and then do it for the contact. Doing it for the contact is actually easy. You just have to change one line, I think, make a copy out of the prefab that we have, and we call it GO, and we make it a child of the content, so it goes to its position correctly, and we make the void position false, so it won't have weird transforms. Then we go to the copy and we get a reference to its script that it has, and we put it inside tref, and that script actually has a reference to our text mesh pro. We're gonna call it txt, and we're gonna take the text mesh pro from it and we're gonna put it inside this txt. Then we go to this txt and change the text value of it to the message we want, and that is how you change it. So this was for the player. So what do we want to do for the contact? We can just copy everything, Control C and Control V here. The only thing you have to change is, instead of instantiating the player SMS, you just instantiate the contact SMS. As easy as that. So right now, everything is done. This is a universal void that you can call, and you can add message. So we're gonna test it out. Say add message. We're gonna say, yeah, player told us. Say, hello, how are you? Then we're gonna duplicate it. Say false. False is for the contact. So the contact is gonna say, I'm fine, how are you? Then the player says, for example, I'm great. Again, he's gonna say, I'm the best. The contact is gonna say, yes, you are. And we're gonna duplicate this a couple of times so we can go down in our scroll bar that we created. That is everything we have to do. We can go ahead and check it out. Inside our SMS, everything is set. When we start, we're gonna see the messages. How are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm great. I'm the best. Yes, you are. Yes, you are, until it is finished. You see, this is the bar that you have. So that's how you create it. So if you want to, call this SMS system from another script, and in your other script, I'm gonna create a new C# script. I'm gonna say First to Fathom, underline SMS, underline testing, I'm gonna show you the reason I made it static, and inside this script that we had, I'm gonna delete all of this. We can just cut it. Yeah, we can just delete it. So we're gonna go inside our other script, the new script that we created. I'm gonna create an empty object. I'm gonna call it testing. Then I'm gonna put the testing script to it. Inside the testing script, the only thing I want to do is I want to call this one without getting a reference. So doing that is actually pretty easy. What you're gonna do is you're gonna say first to Fathom SMS dot instance. So we get a reference to this object, the instance that is inside the scene, dot add message. Yes, the player is saying it, and it's gonna say hi, I'm Batman, for example. And you can also do it for the contact. That's cool, for example. And yeah, I just want to show you how static works, so you have an example of how it works. We didn't give a reference or get a reference anywhere. As you see, it actually works. And you can just, give this object to give the script to any object, and you can just call it without, getting a reference. That's how a static works. We're done with it. The other thing we wanted to talk about, the video has been a long video, sorry, but we're gonna do it pretty fast. And we have this UI drag script. You don't have to, create it yourself or anything. It's just a simple drag and drop script. You can just copy it, or you can download it with a link in the description. The scripts are gonna be on the GitHub. But if you don't want to get it, you can just, see it from here. You can just copy it. It just gets a reference, and it uses the drag handler and iDrag handler from Unity, from the Unity's own event system. It's gonna move the object that we give it to. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our window inside the canvas, this whole thing, and we're gonna just give it this script. As easy as that. Now when you go inside it, you can move around in this, and you can just move the object, the whole object. And if it is big and you don't want to move it that big, you can just make it smaller and maybe duplicate it, move it a little bit left, this one to right, for example. And yeah, that is it. You see, this is it, and it only writes on one thing because we get a reference to this one, not this one. You see, this moves, you can move it, you can do anything you want with it. And I think that is how it is represented in First to Fathom. So that was it. So what if you want to write on this one as well? You just gonna get a reference to that one. Just gonna create another content, for example, call this one content parent 2, and instead of making it the child of the content parent, just make it a child of content parent 2. And I think that is gonna do it. And add it to this one. Let me just show you. This is the content parent 2, as you see. This time it's gonna write it on here. As you see, it wrote it here instead of here. So that was how to create the SMS system like First to Fathom in Unity. I've been trying a lot to make it work and make something similar to First to Fathom, and something that is easy to use and simple to understand. I tried to explain everything in these two parts, and I tried to explain everything as simple as I can, and that actually made the video longer than usual. But I tried to explain everything in these videos, everything. Any questions you have, you can tell me in the comment section. I'll try my best to help you if I know the answer to it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, you can give it a like. You can subscribe to see more contents like this. You can tell me in the comments in the comment section below anything you want to say, anything you want to suggest, anything, just anything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.